Hey there, Charlie. So Jay here. Just want to show you kind of how I arrived at the shape that we needed. So what this boils down to is a mixture of solid modeling and surface modeling. That's why I couldn't get to that last 1%. So I actually had to rebuild quite a bit. Let me kind of take you through this so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Oh, and I changed it so that I could have something to look at rather than the see-through glass. But yeah, awesome design. I saw what you did. I kind of started up here. I saw your first extrusion, saw your next little extension there, and then, just kind of walked through all this until I got to the overall shape that you had created. So that was the first extrusion. On the side over here, you mentioned you needed these curves, so I wanted to make sure. I knew that was important. I didn't want to omit that, but I wanted to make sure I got this. So I tried a couple things, and this is the one that I settled on. I settled on something different than what I was talking to you on the phone about. So here's where things really changed. So what I had to do was I had to create a new plane. And this plane, I noticed that this was a squared tube. So I just cut from that corner to that corner, and I made a brand new plane, which you can see here, cutting right through diagonally on this element. Okay. So what that gives me the opportunity to do is, if I go look at this element here, I can now see a straight curve here like that. Okay. So that's what I started with. I started with this plane. Once I had that plane, I was able to go and make this sketch right here. So what I was trying to do here with this sketch is I was trying to get, okay, I want to ensure that all I have is these elements. Okay, so then I have a brand new extrusion. I could have done this probably a lot cleaner. Honestly, I could have done it a lot cleaner. What I was after, Charlie, was I was after this specific surface right here, that surface. But I have these unnecessary corners. I've got that corner and that corner. Those are totally unnecessary. All right, so then I needed to get rid of those corners. So then I made a new sketch from the top and I cleaned it up. So now you can see that I've got that solid filled right there at that location. So that's step one, is to fill that void that we had gotten. So I'm using just solid extrusions and cuts and voids, but this is all solids, so no surfaces to this point, okay? And I won't be using any surfaces incidentally. All right, next. From there, I went and made this other extrusion so that I could just get like you see here, the top up here and the bottom down here. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to isolate this triangular surface. I just want to isolate that triangular surface, okay? But before I isolate that triangular surface, this particular surface, I want to thicken that up. And that's where I leveraged a thicken feature. So that's going to be found under the 3D modeling. Here's thicken. And I use that same 1/8 of an inch, 0.125 parameter, the thickness. I used that thickness value. So I thickened it up, and it's hard to tell because this element is so big. It's like almost 2 feet by 2 feet. But if you zoom in real close, you can now start to see this other edge over here on this end, that edge. So that's the 1/8 inch thickened surface from that face. All right, and then finally what I did is I just did one last little cleanup, which allowed me to wind up. Let me just go back and forth a little bit here. So I just did one last little cleanup. Oh, excuse me. So if I look at it again from this side view here, I wanted to keep the 1/8 of an inch curved face, but everything else I wanted to remove. Okay, So I made one last little extrusion which serves as a void, and here's what that sketch looks like. As you can see, sketch 15, it's almost like a rectangular shape, but I wanted to void everything but that face. So that white line that you can see there, that's the face, the thickened face that I wound up with. Okay, so that's how I wound up with the shape here. Let me turn off the visibility of this plane. It's kind of obstructing some stuff here. Move my microphone more in front of me here. And so that's how I wound up with this shape, Charlie. Got the shape. Okay. Now this is one solid. So after all these extrusions, I wound up with just that one little face. Okay. And then what I did, of course, when you go to the sheet metal, if you have a solid, you can convert it to a sheet metal. And then finally, when you have a sheet metal, you can go to create the flat pattern, or just make that flat pattern. Okay, I know it doesn't look like much, but when you go to the side view, you can see that it is indeed flat. The curvature has been removed, all that other stuff. So this was the result that I was looking for, okay? So from here, all I did to get the DXF file, I just right-clicked on that face, and my option right in the middle of my Pop Zero dialog box here is Export Face As. Okay, so I exported this face, and then I saved it as a DXF, which I know that's what Softtech likes. So I saved it as a DXF file. You're going to have to test it and see if you can dry run that on the Softtech, but I think we got that taken care of. In addition to that, now that I have this flat pattern in this file called full scale, okay, let me go back up to my folded part. Here we go. So in addition to this, so now I'm looking at the folded part. I know it doesn't look any different, but if I were to go to the side view here, you can see, wrong one, that side view. You can see that it's got the curvature. Okay, so you're going to cut it out flat, and then when you go attach it to your element there, you can, obviously as you're welding it together, it's going to kind of naturally curve as you're welding that back on or whatever. But anyway, so now that I've got the finished part, I also have this guy right here. I've made a drawing, so you can print this up or whatever you need. Oh, of course, I'm in the wrong. That's the one. I've got some abandoned files here. Alright, anyway, I fully dimensioned all the stuff, including the radius, which is kind of ridiculously large. That's 1,225 and 17/32 of an inch. 1,225 inches and 17/32. Okay, it is a ridiculous radius here, but it's fine. We need to have that curvature there, and that's what the numbers work out to be according to the model. And of course, you can see that what I did is I placed the flattened portion of that model here, the flattened portion of that wedge. It's right here. This is the curved portion, and then I've got the flattened geometry. Okay, so I hope that this video, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to book some time with me and we'll go over it. But hopefully with a video, with the files, and this response, hopefully you can get all this worked out on Softtech and cut this out. Okay, my friend, thanks again.